This production is being brought to you by Battery Outfitters. With locations all over the Mid-South, they are your neighborhood battery store.
Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a quick look at two different fishing reels, and it just so happens that I consider them to be the very best and the very worst examples of catfishing reels, or any other species for that matter, of any reels that I've ever come across. You don't want to miss it, so stick around. Okay, so as I mentioned in the intro, this video is essentially a review video for two different fishing reels. Neither of these reels were specifically designed just for catfishing, but that's what I use them for. So keep in mind in processing the information that I'm going to give you, that's what I use them for. Catfishing for large fish on big rivers. Normally I wouldn't combine two review videos into one video, but the reason I'm doing it this way is I have some pretty bad news for you, and I'm not really the type to deliver bad reviews, and so I wanted to sprinkle in some good stuff too, as to not put out bad karma. That and the fact that one of these two reels you guys have already been asking me about a lot, so we can kind of kill two birds with one stone. And that first reel is the Kastking Kapstan. That's right, this is the Kapstan from Kastking. You may or may not have already seen it. Again, it's not designed for catfishing. It's designed as a multi-species reel, but I use it specifically for bumping in heavy current on big rivers for big catfish. Like all Kastking reels, the Kapstan comes in a really nice box. It's really well made, it's slick, it feels of good quality. Of course it's going to keep the reel from getting damaged in shipping, but additionally it's so nice, it kind of, as soon as you open the package, it kind of makes you feel like, hey, I bought a quality item. I guess that's a bonus. But what matters most is the reel, of course. So let me touch on the positives, and then I'll talk about the negatives. Positive, I really like the size of it for what I do, bumping. It fits in my hand well. I think it's really close to perfect in terms of frame size. I love the handle, double grip, the foam feels great, it's very comfortable, it feels durable. I like that they're replaceable. By the way, you get some paperwork in the box that gives you the parts breakdown in case you ever need to get replacement parts for this reel. This reel does sell for a little more than the majority of Kastking reels, at about $129 depending on when and where you buy it. So it's good that there's parts available. Yeah, so the physical size is good. The bait clicker, very loud if you're into bait clickers. The thumb release works great. I love the spool tensioner. The spool tensioner has clicks. That's really nice. It's got some magnetic brake adjustments, but I don't use that for bumping, so not beneficial to me. Just spool tension is the only thing I use along that line. If I had to pick one particular thing about it that's really awesome, it's the drag. It is phenomenal. It's rated at 35 pounds. I happen to know it was tested well above that. But it's rated at 35 pounds, and the neat thing about it is, even when you have it torqued down and set really, really high, the star adjustment is very, very easy to use. So if you're fighting a fish and you choose to change it, you can do so really easy with the flick of your finger. Unlike some of the Rover reels, you guys know if you follow my channel very closely that I use a lot of the Rover reels. The drag on these is far inferior to this and pretty difficult to adjust if you have it set to even 50% of its maximum capacity. So there again, that's a much cheaper reel, but the drag sucks compared to this. If I was going to put a negative on it, it's really only one. Even though I do like the physical size of it, the capacity is just a little limited for my use. It's really only going to hold about 200 yards, 50 to 60 pound braid. I think they're rated a little higher than that, but I find it to fall short because the line begins to rub the backside of the frame. So the capacity is a little limited, but I mean, I'm always on the Mississippi River bumping 100 feet plus, and it's working for that. But if you like really big capacity, that's not the reel for you. And now moving on to the thumbs down portion of this review, we're going to talk about a reel that is brand new to the market. I mean, really new. Like very few out there in the world at this point. Except for, you know, those of us like me that got sidetracked by something new and shiny and just hit that order button. And that's this one. Once again from Kastking, this one is the Kastking Recon. The Recon is a line counter reel, and I've been wanting to try a line counter reel for quite some time because I do a lot of suspend fishing where I'm sitting over some really deep water and dropping baits straight below the boat. I thought it'd be nice to have a line counter that might accurately tell me exactly where my bait is in case I don't want to go all the way to the bottom for one reason or another. The price on these will run you between $60 and $70 depending on when and where you buy them. So they're kind of a middle of the road price reel, I would say, for most people. Like all Kastking reels, they come in a box that is probably intended to give you the warm and fuzzies and make you feel like you got a quality item. There's some paperwork, there's some stickers, and there's some labels to tell you what kind of line is on the reel and how long it's been on there. It's kind of cool. But none of that matters if the reel sucks. And when I took this reel out of the box, my first thoughts were, oh crap. It immediately it felt cheap. In fact, it reminds me of the Shakespeare Tidewater, I think is what it's called, which is a $30 reel that you buy at Walmart. The material itself feels cheap. It may not be. Maybe I shouldn't let that bother me, but that was my first impressions. The next thing in my first impressions were this release. First of all, I prefer a thumb bar rather than this lever, but you know, that's a matter of personal opinion. But do you notice this? This one's not even working right. That doesn't do that every time. Now it works correctly. See that? I don't like that. That's wonky. Additionally, when you go to re-engage the reel, it's pretty clunky. I'm not stoked on that. You may be wondering why there's no line on here if I've already used it. Well, it's because I'm not keeping it. I'm sending both of them back because they under-delivered. So, yeah, I had them backed with a 100-pound line and then topped off with some 65-pound braid. I used both of them for a full day of fishing on the Mississippi River. They under-delivered in every way. Here I am telling you folks about it so that you can avoid the same problem. Next up, the spool tensioner. It looks nice. It's easy to use as far as, you know, it's easy to get at, but I find it a little finicky because when the spool tension is set in such a way that the line doesn't overrun when you lower your bait and sinker, you know, performing that test to set your spool tension. When you get it set that way, it just feels heavy and bound up on the retrieve. And that's particularly noticeable when you have a big bait and a big sinker out there and you're trying to reel it in. It feels bound up like it's riding on cheap bushings. That's not good. Next up, the line counter. Quite honestly, I don't feel it's that accurate. I was being very mindful of the line counter. I would check my sonar when I dropped my baits, and I often found that this would indicate 4 to 6, maybe 7 foot additional depth over what the sonar was reading. And I also found that at times when I would lower the bait and then reel it back in, it would indicate that I still had line out when in fact I did not. That's not right. The next major miss is the drag. They indicate that the drag on this is 25 pounds, and in fact, maybe it is. But unlike the Kapstan that I just showed you, when you get this thing even remotely torqued down, I usually set my drag at like 6 pounds. And when you get close to that, the adjustment is very stiff. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm really having to push on that to loosen it. And why? Well, because something about it is not ideal, I suppose. Again, this is a cheaper reel than the Kapstan, but it's just not right. It reminds me of the Rover, which is a reel that sells for less than $50 most of the time. The drag on these sucks, and the adjustment on it sucks even more. It's a little hard to use, but they're cheap, and if you need a lot of reels, maybe you end up cutting corners like that. So what's a positive on this one? I like the physical size. You get a lot of capacity for the frame size, I feel. This one holds over 300 yards or right at 300 yards. So what's the positives? Well, I do like the physical size of this reel. They indicate that you get 300 yards of line on here, and you may. I felt it was just a little short of that, but maybe not. I mean, I did have a 100-pound backer on there, so that changes things. So yeah, 300 yards capacity. The physical size is not large. They do offer this in 2 different size ranges, also 2 different handle sizes. Physical size on this one is good for the capacity that you get. Also, I like the double paddle handle here. The foam grips feel great. They've got their little Kastking logo in there and gives you a little traction. They feel durable. They're replaceable. That's nice. The handle itself, I feel like that was a missed opportunity there. Just that cheap stamped out flat bar. I like the contour on some of your nicer reels. That doesn't matter. That's just personal preference. Probably not a big deal. I'm just trying to find something nice to say. I don't know, guys. My experience was it's a cheap plastic reel that under-delivered in almost every way I could possibly come up with. And so I wanted to let you guys know about it. I mean, as a content creator, I have sort of developed a feeling of loyalty to you guys, my viewers. And this experience wasn't a good one, and I want to help you avoid it, you know? You see a new reel, you get excited about it, you order it, you get it in, it sucks. Not good for anybody. With that, I want to see if you guys can help me. Do you know of a line counter reel that I should try? One that won't disappoint? Something you've used that really delivered? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear all about it. Additionally, if there are other products that you've seen in my videos that you would like to have a review on, let me know that in the comments and I'll try to deliver on it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.